When I made the video, I really disliked Jake Paul. Now, I don't dislike him, I understand him. I want to make something clear. I would still kick the living fuck out of him.
Andrew Tate just obliterated Jake Paul like a bulldozer plowing through a sandcastle, and honestly, it was spectacular. He didn't hold back, calling Jake out in no uncertain terms for being, well, an absolute jerk.
Because he's allowed himself to become the biggest clown on the internet, and now he's famous, right? Because he's an idiot. But he has a bunch of money, so he gets to...
Tate accused Jake of disrespecting boxing, a sport cherished by billions and tarnishing its reputation. But Jake didn't stop there. He took it a step further by dragging a living legend, Mike Tyson, into this circus act of a fight. Jake didn't just ruin the event. He disrespected Tyson's legacy in the process.
I'm not some washed-up UFC fighter. I'm not smaller than him. I would beat the living shit out of him. And if he wants to fight, I'll fight him any day of the week, and I'll fucking wreck him, and he knows.
And for what? A few extra clicks on his Instagram? Andrew Tate isn't having any of it. He outright blamed Jake for the entire fiasco, calling it an embarrassment to combat sports and a blatant insult to Tyson's legendary career. The worst part, Jake doesn't even have the decency to feel ashamed. It's shamelessness at its peak, and Andrew refuses to stay silent.
However, I do understand what he's doing. I understand that he is very, very smart, even with his marketing angle. I'm just a YouTuber. You're not just a YouTuber. You're a full-grown man with the best coaches in the world who's dedicated his life to learning how to box for years. You know how to box. You're not a complete amateur. You know how to box very well. 3, 4, 5 years of training combat sports. You can box. The guy's not a jackass.
Andrew Tate tore into Jake Paul on live TV, and honestly, it was long overdue. Jake Paul, the self-proclaimed savior of boxing, boasts a fight record as questionable as his haircuts, 6 wins, 1 loss, and a fan base that seems more impressed by his TikToks than his punches. Yet, he struts around like he's revolutionized the sport. Enter Andrew Tate, 76 professional kickboxing wins, 23 knockouts, and 0 tolerance for Jake's YouTube boxing antics. If this were a real sport and not Jake's social media playground, he wouldn't even make it past the tryouts.
I made a video that called out Jake Paul.
$3 million. You put 3, I put 3. Winner takes all. You know my name, Andrew Tate. I will fight you any day, anytime. Let's fucking go. If I were to fight Jake Paul, I would take it completely seriously as a real fight, and I'd whoop his ass. I'd beat him. Jake, everyone thinks he's just some YouTube.
Jake's latest stunt, dragging 58-year-old Mike Tyson out of retirement for a so-called fight, is nothing short of ridiculous. Seriously, who in their right mind does that? Tyson isn't just a retired fighter. He's a living legend, a man who's earned his place in the Boxing Hall of Fame through blood, sweat, and sheer dominance in the ring. His legacy is untouchable, and his retirement should be respected. But Jake Paul, he saw an opportunity to cash in. He thought it'd be a great idea to plaster Tyson's name on a pay-per-view spectacle, package it as a fight, and sell it to the masses. It's not about honoring Tyson's career. It's about boosting Jake's brand and inflating his already bloated ego. Andrew Tate, never one to bite his tongue, didn't hold back. He called the entire fiasco what it truly is, a joke, and not a funny one. This isn't boxing. It's a circus act. It's not about skill, honor, or the spirit of the sport. It's about a content creator's desperate need for relevance and attention. Tate made it clear that this isn't just disrespectful to Tyson, but to boxing itself. It drags a sport revered by millions through the mud, reducing it to a sideshow for clicks and views. And Andrew Tate, he's not here for it. He's here to call out the nonsense, to defend the integrity of the sport, and to remind everyone that legends like Tyson deserve respect, not exploitation.
He is not just a YouTuber. He is a young man training with Canelo and Ryan Garcia.
When I made the video, I really disliked Jake Paul. Now, I don't dislike him, I understand.
Andrew Tate, a seasoned fighter who's faced elite athletes for over a decade, didn't hold back when calling out Jake Paul for padding his record with opponents who either have no business in the ring or are well past their prime. Let's take a walk down memory lane and recap Jake's so-called greatest hits. First up, a fellow YouTuber. Then, a retired basketball player with no boxing experience. Add to that a lineup of former MMA fighters whose boxing skills wouldn't cut butter. And finally, the Mike Tyson debacle, dragging a 58-year-old legend out of retirement for a sideshow spectacle. If Jake spent even half as much time honing his craft as he does cherry-picking opponents, he might actually earn some respect in the sport. But here we are, watching him build a career on gimmicks and spectacle rather than true competition.
Challenged him because he is a very fortunate young man. And he's fortunate because he's extremely rich, because he's allowed himself to become the biggest clown on the internet, and now he's famous, right? Because he's an idiot. But he has a bunch of money, so he gets to...
When Andrew Tate called Jake Paul a clown, it wasn't just trash talk. It was a cold, hard fact. Jake Paul is like the guy who shows up to a costume party in a suit and calls himself James Bond. He's playing dress up, and everyone can see right through it. Tate's challenge to Jake was straightforward. Stop hiding behind gimmicks. Step into the ring with a real fighter. And prove you have more to offer than Instagram captions and flashy TikToks. Tate has spent years perfecting his craft, battling opponents who could actually hit back. Meanwhile, Jake has been busy promoting himself on social media, flexing on TikTok, and avoiding real challenges. He's the guy who skips practice but still demands to be team captain. It's embarrassing, really. If these two ever share a ring, Tate wouldn't just win. He'd dismantle Jake in front of his own fan base. And honestly, that might be the reality check Jake has been dodging for far too long.
But I'd still whoop his ass. but I would whoop his ass. But he wouldn't take a fight against me, because when he loses, I'm not nearly on his level of fame, right? So like, he lost to who? Whereas if he loses to Conor McGregor, it's no big deal. Well, he lost to Conor McGregor, who cares, right? That's what it's about. But yeah,
It's still money for him.
Yeah, it's money for him.
Let's take a moment to roast Jake Paul's idea of fighting Mike Tyson one more time, because, honestly, it deserves its own special spotlight. Jake challenging Tyson at this stage of his life is like racing a retired Olympian in a sprint and calling it a fair match. It's not just disrespectful. It's downright desperate. And if we're being real, it's exactly what we've come to expect from Jake Paul. Andrew Tate didn't pull any punches in calling it out, and neither should we. If you're fighting someone 31 years your senior, it's not a competition. It's borderline elder abuse. Tate wouldn't stoop so low, but Jake would, because he seems to lack both humanity and common sense. Sure, on paper, Jake and Tate might look evenly matched, both over 6 feet tall, weighing around 190 to 200 pounds. But experience and skill aren't measured in stats. And that's where Jake doesn't stand a chance. Tate has been fighting elite opponents for over a decade, mastering his craft in the ring. Jake, he's been boxing for, 4 years? And most of that time has been spent figuring out how to make his next fight trend on Twitter. Jake isn't a boxer. He's a walking brand deal with gloves. If these two ever face off, it won't just be a fight. It'll be a lesson Jake desperately needs.
I'm ready. Come on. Come on. Fight. Hey. Go fight. Hey. Fight. Hey. Go fight. Hey. Hey. Work. Hey. Work. Hey. Work. Hey. Work. Work. Hey. Work.
Andrew Tate has always shown that Mike Tyson isn't just a name in boxing. He's a true icon, a legend who helped define the sport. Tate respects Tyson deeply, not as a stepping stone for his own career, but as someone who has earned their place through hard work and skill. His respect for Tyson is rooted in honor, something every true fighter understands and strives for. In contrast, Jake Paul treats the sport as a business opportunity, using Tyson's name to elevate his own social media presence. Jake's goal is to drive clicks and get attention, regardless of the respect the sport deserves. Tate, however, understands that legacy matters more than likes, and he would never drag a legend like Tyson into a farce of a fight just to boost his personal brand. For Tate, boxing isn't about stunts or trends. It's about building a legacy that lasts and respecting the fighters who have come before you. Jake Paul, on the other hand, is all about fleeting moments of attention. This is the fundamental difference. Tate values respect and legacy, while Jake values popularity and clicks.
Andrew, fighter, legitimate, badass motherfucker, strong mentality. Sorry, Tristan Tate is a weak link.
I say let's
He got a bad shoulder. He's shaped like a gingerbread man. I don't want no beef, but that's delusion. PFO will set this up.
Uh-oh.
A MMA
10
double tag team
million,
match.
10 million for everybody.
You might have a fight. You might have a fight on your
Let's take a moment to talk about Jake Paul, the guy who thought fighting a 58-year-old Mike Tyson was a smart career move. But let's be real, fighting is a strong word. Exploiting is far more accurate. Jake didn't see Tyson as a legendary fighter who deserved his rest. He saw him as a shortcut to staying in the headlines. And the worst part, Jake genuinely believed that dragging Tyson out of retirement would make him look like a legitimate boxer. Andrew Tate, however, sees Tyson's legacy as something that should be preserved, not paraded around for cheap attention and cash grabs. Tate didn't hold back, calling out Jake for what this so-called fight really was, a desperate attempt to cling to relevance. Honestly, he's spot on. Even Tyson, who's too classy to outright roast Jake, has subtly pointed out the stark difference between the likes of Tate and Jake. Tyson respects figures like Tate because, like him, they've earned their influence through years of hard work, taking hits and proving themselves as real fighters. Jake Paul, his antics probably make Tyson roll his eyes so hard they're practically doing laps. The difference is undeniable. Tate carries himself with dignity, respecting the sport and the fighters who've paved the way. Jake, on the other hand, operates like a walking billboard, always looking for his next viral moment.
Two brothers, one cage. Jake Logan, you Tristan. Who comes out alive?
You know what? I'm trying so hard to not start internet beefs. I'm really trying not to.
You could say Jake and Logan, man.
Bro,
Don't worry about it.
No, I can't lie. I'm going through life. I'm trying to live peaceful now. I've got Fed agents in my house. Matrix is after me. I'm just trying to live peaceful. But of course, I have absolute faith in myself and my brother, and I know what we've been through, and I know the kind of men we are.
Here's the truth. Respect is the foundation of combat sports. It's what distinguishes the true legends from the imposters. Andrew Tate's respect for Mike Tyson isn't just some shallow praise. It's rooted in an understanding of what it takes to become a real fighter. Tate knows the sacrifices, the grind, and the legacy that a true champion like Tyson has built. That kind of respect comes from having lived the life of a fighter, from earning every ounce of respect you get in the ring. Jake Paul, on the other hand, wouldn't recognize respect if it hit him like a knockout punch. His entire boxing career is based on picking easy targets, opponents who either have no business being in the ring or are past their prime. These aren't the choices of a legitimate fighter. They're the choices of someone more interested in making headlines than in actually competing. Jake's been more focused on building a brand and creating viral moments than on earning respect in the sport. It's not just embarrassing. It's an insult to boxing. For those who have dedicated their lives to perfecting their craft, Jake's antics are a slap in the face. Real athletes work tirelessly to hone their skills and represent the sport with integrity. Jake's been busy exploiting it for fame and profit, with little regard for the athletes who take it seriously. His career isn't about respect for the sport. It's about taking shortcuts and turning combat sports into a sideshow for clicks and attention. The public reaction to Jake's stunt was savage, and rightfully so. Fans and analysts alike saw through it immediately. Fighting Tyson at 58 wasn't a bold move. It was a blatant cash grab. People were outraged, not just by the disrespect shown to Tyson, but by Jake's audacity to think this would somehow earn him respect in the boxing world. The combat sports community is done with the smoke and mirrors and is practically begging Andrew Tate to step in and give Jake the reality check he's been avoiding. And let's not pretend Jake Paul doesn't know exactly what he's doing. For years, he's carefully curated his opponents, avoiding real fighters to build a fake legacy. But Andrew Tate isn't some washed-up MMA fighter looking for a payday. He's a former kickboxing world champion with 76 wins and the kind of experience that Jake can only dream of. If these two ever step into the ring, it won't be a fight. It will be a dismantling. Tate will tear through Jake like a buzzsaw through cardboard, and everyone knows it, including Jake. The media has been loving the possibility of this showdown, and the internet is buzzing with memes, debates, and predictions. Social media is on fire with people begging Tate to shut Jake down once and for all. For Tate, this is a chance to show the world what a real fighter looks like. For Jake, it's a chance to prove he's more than just a glorified YouTuber. But let's be real, he's not.